The webinar is now live. That was a little bit anticlimactic.
A little bit.
Let's wait for people to flood in here. Hopefully our infrastructure can handle the influx of excited people.
I can feel the excitement.
It's palpable.
Radiating from them.
Are you sure that's not just radiation sickness?
That could be also.
We still have some more people. Oh, by the way, hello everybody. We should probably say that.
Hello everybody.
That would be polite. Hope everybody is doing well today. It is October the 15th, which means only 16 days until Halloween.
Oh, very cool.
Which is probably my favorite holiday of the year because I am a fan of horror. I'm not sure about you, Corey.
You also love candy.
Well, I do, but my teeth don't like it so much.
True.
Yeah, but there's lots of people with their Halloween decorations out around our neighborhood, which is exciting.
Our Frankenstein, we have a big blow-up Frankenstein.
Oh, yeah?
I think I told you I was 8 foot tall blow-up Frankenstein, but he was laying on the ground this morning. The wind knocked him over. So he's taking a nap this morning.
Do your kids ever mistake your Frankenstein for you?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
I have a little more green face than he does.
Plus the blow-up Frankenstein's a little bit more handsome than you.
A little bit.
Yeah. Oh, quite a lot probably. All right. Well, we seem to have 47 participants
Wonderful.
at the moment, which is very acceptable. So I guess we should probably get started. Oh, I think somebody's put something in the chat already.
Yeah, you're in charge of that today because I don't.
Yeah. Shirley says hello. Hello, Shirley.
Hi, Shirley.
You know what? I'll type it as well because
Very good.
Why not? There we go. Oh, I didn't put an exclamation mark, so now it seems like it's a bit ruthless. Never mind. Okay, well, hello everybody. Hopefully you can hear us okay today because I know we had some comments last week that you couldn't hear us so well. So if there are any problems hearing us, then do let us know. Obviously, if you can't hear us at all, then you're not going to be able to let us know, but that's fine as well. Today we are going to be talking about some more iPhone things. And Corey, I heard a rumor that you've been doing a lot of work with animated films. Is this true?
What?
Well,
I get what you're going.
Somebody told me you were an expert in voiceover.
I have been known to do a lot with voiceover. It took me a minute. I got there.
I knew you get there eventually. You can tell that we do not rehearse this in any way. So yeah, today we're going to be looking at VoiceOver, which is obviously the iPhone's built-in screen reader, which would allow you to use the iPhone as a person with low vision or a person who is blind. We'll also be looking at Siri, your friendly local voice assistant, which can help you do many different things. Is there anything else we're looking at? I think those.
We're gonna touch on a little bit of some newer features, shortcuts, and back tap. Probably won't actually demo them today, only because they take a bit longer. We may actually need to devote a future tech talk, but we're definitely going to talk about what they are and where to find them.
Okay.
So that people can kind of explore them themselves if they want to.
Perfect. I know Jason last week had mentioned the back tap, and we completely forgot to talk about it. So that sounds good. Kenneth says, hello, I can hear you in San Jose, California. Now that's impressive because that's a long way away.
This is a very good mic we have.
Yeah, there you go. It's obviously broadcasting across the nation here. Let's say thanks to Kenneth. And Corey, why don't you tell us a little bit about what the entrance code is, because these are eligible for ACV REP credits, and also if you want to tell us where to go to do all that stuff. Yeah,
so we've changed the process just a bit to actually make it easier for people. So first and foremost, go to vision-forward.org/Tech Talk Live. That's TEC Talk Live. Right there, you're going to find all the information you need, both for registering for Tech Talk Lives, which if anyone's listening now, you've already done, for the ACV REP training evaluation process can be found there, and then also links to past archived Tech Talk Lives that we post to our YouTube channel. So vision-forward.org/Tech Talk Live is the place to go. After today's session, if you're interested in ACV REP credits, you're going to go, and it's a two-step process. First, you're going to fill out the evaluation form, and you're going to include your entrance and exit codes, which will give the entrance code in just a moment. When you click submit, it's going to redirect you to our online store, right to our Tech Talk Live credit purchase page. And you'll purchase 1 credit for $10 for this hour. Each Tech Talk Live credit is $10. And each time you join us, you'll need to complete those 2 steps. Then you'll get your certificate via email within a couple days.
Okay, let me just ask you a quick question here. Susan has asked us to please repeat the site, and I want to ask you a question about that before we do.
Yeah.
You said vision-forward.org/Tech Talk Live. Can you please elucidate how are you spelling tech?
Oh, and I did.
Okay.
But I'll repeat.
Oh, did you? Oh,
yeah, that's okay. So we do our text TEC,
yes,
which stands for Technology and Education Center.
Yes.
But it is, so it is vision-forward.org/TEC and then Talk Live, TALKLIVE, all lowercase, no spaces.
And it is in the chat as well.
Yep.
So you can check that. Also, just want to mention, as usual, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them as we go along. And this is a very casual, open format, so we'll try and answer those as they come up. Just go ahead and write those into the chat or into the Q&A. Also, apologies up front if you see me continually messing with my mask. For some reason, it is itching like crazy today. I don't know why, but it's really itching my my lip. So apologies for that. And also, quick quiz question, which people can answer as we go along here.
Okay.
My question is this. I told Corey that with these surgeons' masks, which are white on one side and blue on the other side, I told Corey that the blue should be on the outside. Since then, I have started to very much doubt my my suggestion to him. If anybody knows which way is the correct way for these surgeons' masks, or if anybody has strong opinions either way, I'd be very interested to hear those in the chat.
I don't think it matters. I think the color is there so that you, when you put it on, you consistently
put it on the same way.
Yeah, so you don't put it on and off, and then for contamination. So if you put white against your face, and if you take it off and have to, doff it and then don it back, or whatever the correct words are, you don't put the white on the outside for contamination. But who knows?
But who knows? If anybody has any further information on this, please do let us know. Cynthia says that she can't see anything in the chat. Has anything been written in here? Cynthia, yes. I just noticed that people have been posting to the panelists and not panelists and attendees. If you are writing in the chat, please make sure that in the to field, you open that drop down and choose panelists and attendees so that everybody can see what's being written. And I have to admit, I also have not been doing that, so I will start doing that now. I'm going to go ahead and type in the web address again for the ACVRP and so on and so forth. Let me just do that here. TikTok Live, good. And let me just check that we've got. I think there was one thing more in the chat I needed to get to here. Tara says, will the session be on YouTube later? Yes, Tara, but it might be a few weeks. So we still have a couple of other ones to publish, and we only publish videos every Friday. So yes, it will be on YouTube eventually. And maybe we should figure out a better way of doing that. That'll be for a further discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, we spent 10 minutes talking about nothing, so now we should probably get on with it.
Let's get the entrance code in. Today's entrance code for ACVREP credit, today's entrance code is TOUCH, TOUCH. Luke will put that in the chat as well. So entrance code today is TOUCH.
Does it matter if it's uppercase or lowercase?
It only makes a difference if the U is uppercase or lowercase.
I think you're lying about it.
I am lying.
That would be cool.
No, we actually do not care. You can put in all caps, all lower caps, half and half. We don't care.
If it's actually, if you mix it up, then you get more points. Like if you've got like an uppercase T, lowercase OU, uppercase CH.
If you use a 0 instead of an O, then I'm going to get upset though.
Yeah.
All right.
All
right. So today what we are looking at, for those who joined us last week, and actually what I'm going to do is switch over our video feed. And I apologize for my computer talking because I did not bring my headphones today, but it won't do anymore. Okay. So what we are talking about today is we're going to continue our discussion on accessibility on the iOS platform. So we're talking about iPhone, iPad specifically. If you joined us last week, Luke spent the hour talking about all the different low vision accommodations there were, from zoom to display to brightness to bold font. And there was a lot that we covered. And those were really more geared towards individuals who have low vision or some usable vision. Today, what we're going to be focusing on, though, is individuals who may not have any usable vision or may have unreliable low vision where they do need to rely on alternative or non-visual ways to access these devices. And as Luke mentioned in the intro, the main accessibility feature that is built in is called VoiceOver. And basically, for those who are familiar with screen readers, so if it's JAWS or NVDA or Narrator, VoiceOver is the built-in screen reader on all iOS devices. So that can be your iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, even the HomePod has VoiceOver built in. So the majority of Apple's products have this screen reader built in. Before we go in and talk about where we find VoiceOver settings, and we're going to kind of go through as we did 2 weeks ago, we're going to go through the settings of VoiceOver and kind of go over each different piece so that you have a better understanding. But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about how VoiceOver works, because I don't want you to go in on your device, turn on VoiceOver, and then realize that the gestures completely change, and then you get stuck with it on or off. And so let's first talk about, number one, how to turn VoiceOver on and off the easiest, and number two, what are some of the real basic commands for VoiceOver. So the first thing you can do is the best way for you to turn VoiceOver on and off. There's really two ways of doing it. One is by using Siri, and the other is by using the accessibility shortcut that we talked about 2 weeks ago. For those that weren't here 2 weeks ago, we'll touch a little bit on that accessibility shortcut as we move forward. But let's use Siri in this case. So first of all, Siri is the built-in voice assistant on iPhones and iPads. It does require for you to have an internet connection, but then allows you to use your voice to accomplish a lot of tasks. And one of the tasks we can accomplish is turning VoiceOver on and off. On iPads, depending on which model you have, and same for iPhones, you're either going to hold down your home button. So if your iPad or iPhone has the physical round home button down at the bottom of the screen, you're going to press and hold that to launch Siri. If you have an iPhone or an iPad that has no physical home button, you're going to use the power or lock button, which they've changed to the Siri button as well. So on this iPad here, we have an iPad Pro, and this does not have a home button. So I'm going to use the power button in order to turn VoiceOver on and off. Now, right now it's on. So first we'll turn it off and then turn it back on. So I'm going to press and hold our Siri button, and I'm just going to say, turn off VoiceOver.
Okay, VoiceOver is now off.
All right, so now VoiceOver is off. So this is how you would traditionally use your iPad. Again, anything you touch with your finger will automatically open up. Let's now turn VoiceOver on. So we'll press and hold our power button again. Turn VoiceOver on.
Okay, I turned VoiceOver on. Charge port to the right.
Now, one thing you may have noticed is that when I had VoiceOver running and I pressed and held the button and Siri launched, we got a little beep letting us know that Siri launched and was listening. When VoiceOver is not on, we don't get that initial beep. So just be aware that if VoiceOver is off and you're turning it on with Siri, even though you're pressing and holding it, it is listening, even if you don't hear that initial beep. Now that VoiceOver is turned on, let's talk about really, in my opinion, 3 commands, 3 gestures that are most important and you'll use most often when using your iPad or iPhone. There are 2 ways for you to navigate with VoiceOver. The first way is called Explore by Touch. That's simply when we take one finger and we place it on the screen. Now, we know that when we traditionally use iOS, anything we touch with our finger will automatically open up. But obviously, that's not going to work very well for an individual with no usable vision who's relying on VoiceOver. So what happens instead is when we take one finger and place it on the screen,
Calendar, Thursday, October 15th.
VoiceOver reads what's underneath our finger. For anybody who's listening, if you could please let us know and make sure that VoiceOver is loud enough.
Photos.
I'd appreciate that. So as we place one finger on the screen.
Calendar, Thursday, October 15th. Photos.
and we just
Double
move it
tap to open.
around.
Photos. Home. Maps.
As I explore the screen with one finger, just sliding my finger around, VoiceOver is going to read whatever is underneath my finger. So I'm exploring the screen by touch, one finger sliding around. Now, one thing people tend to do is touch the screen,
Calendar.
pick
Thursday,
their finger
October
up,
15th.
touch
Clock.
down again.
11:16 a.m.
You don't need to do that. Simply place your finger on the screen and just slide your finger around, and VoiceOver will read whatever your finger slides over. So that's explore by touch. The other method for navigation is what we call the swipe or flick gesture. You can envision that you're taking one finger, and this gesture can be performed anywhere on the screen, and you're basically flicking or swiping a piece of dust off the screen. You want your finger touching the screen as it is swiping to the right or left. You don't want to touch the screen and then move your finger, because then it thinks you're touching and just sliding. Instead, you want your finger hitting the screen as it's swiping across from right to left. And the way the swipe gesture works is it then moves you left to right, top to bottom. So it systematically moves you from option to option on your screen. So for example, if I touch in the top left corner,
FaceTime.
and we have FaceTime in our top right corner, and we have apps going across from left to right. If I simply take my finger and swipe right,
Calendar. Thursday.
it moves to the next app. And again,
Photos.
and again.
Camera. Contacts.
And each time I
Double tap to
swipe to
open.
the right, it's moving from left to right. Now, when I get close to the last icon in that row, it can't go any farther right. So instead, what it's going to do is it's going to come down to the next row and bring me back to the left again.
Clock. 11:17 a.m.
So you see that it
Double
went
tap to
from, I think it did, right? Let me see if I'm right.
FaceTime. Clock.
Oh, I was
11
right. You can see that it moved from row 1 down to row 2, but then brought me back to position 1, back on the left-hand side. So again, it's moving left to right, top to bottom. And I can systematically just move through every app on the
Map.
screen.
Home. Notes. Reminders. News.
And the reason
Double
that
tap
that
to-
can be helpful is that Explore by Touch is great when you know what you're looking for and where on the screen it is spatially. But if you don't know where it is, you sure don't want to be touching every inch of the screen. That's where swipe or flick gesture works out great, because then you can systematically move through and find exactly what you're looking for. So for example, if I'm looking for the settings app, if I don't know exactly where it is, I'm going to pick a direction and I'm going to swipe right until I find it.
Stocks. TV. iTunes Store. App Store. Books. Settings.
There we
Two
go.
items.
Now, spatially or visually, I don't know where it is on the screen, and that's okay because we still landed on it. That's good. That's that we've gotten to where we want to be. Now, how do we activate the settings app? And that's going to be our last gesture we're going to look at specifically today, and that's our one finger double tap. The one finger double tap activates whatever was spoken last by VoiceOver. So the last thing spoken by VoiceOver was the settings app. That means it's currently in focus. And so anything now that as soon as we double tap with one finger, it's going to activate whatever is in the VoiceOver focus. That single finger double tap can be done anywhere on the screen. You do not need to do it on the app itself. So for example, the settings app is sort of in the bottom left. If I come up into the top right here and do my single finger double tap,
Settings.
you can see it still activated the settings app. So again, it doesn't matter where you do that single finger double tap as long as you're doing it on the screen. Now, we typically, as trainers, recommend individuals to do their flick gesture and their taps kind of for the center of the screen. Because if you're trying to do it on the edges or down at the top or bottom, you tend to fall off the screen or hit the outside bezel of the screen, which then isn't touch sensitive and can cause more issues. So we usually train people to kind of aim for the center of the screen as they're working. All right, so now we know some real quick basics on how to use VoiceOver, some of the very basic gestures. But I want to show you where you go to find all of these accessibility features, including the ones we're going to talk about today, but also the ones that Luke talked about 2 weeks ago. And the where we're going to find those in our settings app. So we tapped on settings. Down the left side, we have all of our different settings here. So we're going to look for accessibility.
Control center.
So I'm just going to swipe.
Display and brightness. Home screen and dock. Accessibility.
There it is.
Button.
Double tap with one finger.
Accessibility. Heading.
And now all of our accessibility features show up on the right pane or the right side of our screen. And there's a number of different headings here, from vision and physical and motor. And again, Luke covered a number of the low vision ones. So basically, most of the features after VoiceOver, which we see as the first option here, were covered last session. So go ahead and check that out once it posts so that you can see that. But what we're focusing on today is the first option under the vision heading called VoiceOver. So I'm going to swipe right until I land on it.
Accessibility features help you customize your iPad. Vision. Heading. VoiceOver. On.
There we
Button.
go. And we can see it's on already. So we're going to double tap to go into it.
VoiceOver. Accessibility. Back button.
Perfect. Now let's take a look at a number of the different accessibility features here, all specific to VoiceOver. There is a lot here. And honestly, the majority of individuals will probably use 10 or 15% of what is here. But I want to cover and go over at least what most of them are, so that if there are things you weren't aware of or things you're interested in, you know where to find them and what they mean. So let's just swipe right and we'll take each option as we come across it.
VoiceOver. Heading.
So there's our heading, letting us know we're in the VoiceOver options.
VoiceOver. On.
So the first
Double
one we
tap to
land
toggle.
here is a toggle, and it says VoiceOver on. So if I would single finger double tap, it would turn off VoiceOver. So that's another way that it can be turned on and off by going into the settings here. We'll swipe right.
VoiceOver speaks items on the screen.
Here's just a little help text telling us what VoiceOver does.
Tap once to select an item.
It also kind of tells us some of the basic gestures that are needed.
Double tap to activate the selected item.
And we talked about that. So it said tap with one finger, which is sort of the explore by touch. Single finger double tap to activate.
Learn more. Link.
And we don't need to learn more because
tap
that's
to
why you're
activate.
connected here, to learn more.
VoiceOver practice. Button.
Now, here's one of the things I really like. This is VoiceOver practice. So when you first get your iOS device, either an iPhone or an iPad, learning these gestures can be difficult, especially that swipe or flick right and left gesture. And Luke, I don't know in your experience training people if you've seen, it seems that people either get it right away or they struggle with that gesture. And they get it, but it seems to either be kind of feast or famine.
The swiping is tricky because, as you had said before, you have to be moving as you do it.
Mhm.
The finger needs to be actually doing the swipe as it touches the screen. And I think that's a difficult concept for many people to get. So yeah, it's a tricky one.
I think there's also a bit of spatial. Sometimes people are going up or down
yeah.
versus going left to right.
Yeah.
The other thing that we tend to see too is with the single finger double tap is getting the timing right.
Oh yeah.
Instead of tap, tap, which is too slow, you need to get that tap, tap.
Yeah.
So how do you practice those though? Because if you don't know what you're doing and if you're not getting any feedback or you're not with somebody, how do you practice those gestures? And this is where VoiceOver help mode comes in. Two ways to access VoiceOver help. First, you saw that we went into settings, accessibility, VoiceOver, and if we tap on VoiceOver help here, it'll go right into VoiceOver help mode for us. The other way you can do it is from anywhere, including your home screen. We can do a 4-finger double tap. So if I take 4 fingers and tap the screen twice.
Starting help. To stop help, perform a 4-finger double tap or 2-finger scrub, or press escape on the keyboard.
We've gone into help mode now. Now, what's so cool about this help mode is you can now perform the gestures and VoiceOver is going to tell you which gesture you did. Now, it may not be the one you thought it was, but it's going to do the gesture that it's going to tell you the gesture that it interpreted and tell you what that gesture does. So for example, if we just take 1 finger and touch the screen.
Touch. Speak item.
Okay, so touch, speak item. If I do my swipe gesture,
One finger swipe right. Move to next item.
swipe left.
One finger swipe left. Move to previous item.
So this is a great way to practice that flick gesture, because let's say, and this is what typically happens for individuals, is they typically touch the screen first and then move to the right. And if you aren't in the help mode, you'd never know if you were doing it wrong. But in here, if I try that method,
Touch. Speak item.
you can see that
Touch. Speak item.
it's seeing it as a touch rather than a flick. Again, because I'm touching and then
Touch.
moving.
Speak item.
But if I do the flick where my finger's hitting it as it's swiping to the right,
One finger swipe right. Move to next item.
you see that it's telling me exactly what it is. So one finger double tap.
One finger double tap. Activate.
Again, trying to get that timing down is right. If I try if I do the tap too slow, touch,
Touch.
touch,
Speak item.
you can see that instead of a double tap, it came up as a single touch. Great way for you to practice those gestures and make sure you're getting it. Also, a really cool way to find out what gestures there are with VoiceOver. You can do up to 4 fingers for different gestures. 4 fingers, 4 taps. So if you're like, hey, I wonder what 2-finger triple tap does, this is where you can come in and find it. So 2-finger, 1, 2, 3.
2-finger triple tap. Show item chooser.
Show item chooser. Now you might say, I don't know what item chooser is, and that's okay. But at least you found out that, hey, this is a gesture that does something.
The important question is, what does a 4-finger 4 tap do?
4-finger 4 tap. Let's
Yeah.
try it. I don't think it actually does anything, but let's try it. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Nothing.
Nothing.
We answered the
1,
important
2,
questions.
3. Nope, nothing on there too.
Really?
Yeah.
Looks like they've got some room to expand there. By the way, we do have a question here.
Yeah.
Actually, we have a comment from I think it's Andre. I have high contrast mode on at the moment, and it makes it a little hard to read some things. But so apology if I get this wrong. But it says this will help my older blind. I assume that means blind clients.
Sure.
So yeah, I think this is a great teaching tool for sure.
I use this with every single client.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Because it's really impossible to practice that, especially if you are a blind trainer.
Yeah.
It's so hard to know if they're doing the flick gesture correctly.
Yeah, I don't think there's an equivalent on Android, right? Like, is there?
Well,
I know they have a training thing, but it's not like you can't just go and start tapping and see.
I don't believe so. I don't believe
we,
so.
We could be wrong about that.
Yeah.
But then also somebody here whose name I can't actually see the whole of it is Tara. Says,
we know Tara.
Oh, you do? Excellent.
Well, she's been on most of them, but anyways,
Okay,
continue.
great. She says, does Zoom have to be disabled in order for VoiceOver to work?
Oh, that's a perfect question. No, it does not. You can run low vision and blindness accessibility options together. The only difference will be is some of your gestures will change. So for example, when Luke was talking about Zoom last session, we know that was a 3-finger double tap to start and stop Zoom. A 3-finger double tap when just VoiceOver on mutes your speech. So if I do 3-finger double, I actually won't do it here because I'm in help mode, but we'll try it.
Speak item. 3-finger double tap. Toggle mute.
That mutes my speech. What happens is when you have Zoom on, that the 3-finger double tap for VoiceOver and the 3-finger triple tap for VoiceOver gets pushed back 1. So 3-finger double tap becomes a 3-finger triple tap. 3-finger triple tap with VoiceOver turns the screen curtain mode on and off. We'll talk about that in a moment. That becomes a 3-finger quadruple tap. But yes, they can run together.
And once you've got your head around that, you are officially an assistive technology professional.
Yeah, exactly. It gets very confusing because it's multiple fingers, multiple taps. So it can get crazy. But VoiceOver help mode, great way for people to use to practice. Again, 4-finger double tap will turn it on and also turn it off.
4-finger double tap. Start help. Stopping help.
There we go. So now it stopped it. So we're back in our accessibility
VoiceOver
here,
on.
and let's continue swiping through.
VoiceOvers. Tap once. Double tap to learn more. VoiceOver practice.
There we go. That's
Button.
where we were in practice. We'll go swipe right one more.
Speaking rate. Heading.
So now we've jumped to a new heading here called speaking rate.
Speaking rate. 55%.
Now this is where we can adjust the level of the speaking rate of VoiceOver. 2 different ways to do this, and I'll show you quick both. One is coming into here, and when we land on a slider like we are right now,
Speaking rate, 55%. Adjustable. Swipe up or down with one finger to adjust the value.
You can hear that VoiceOver gave us a little hint there. It said we were on an adjustable, and we can swipe up or down with one finger to adjust it. So if I swipe up,
65%.
it's getting faster.
75%.
And if I swipe down,
65%. 55%.
it's adjusting that slider. So anytime you land on a slider or an adjustable with VoiceOver, swiping up or down will adjust that. The other way you can do it is by using the rotor gesture. And we're going to talk about the rotor gesture a bit later. So let's keep moving on.
Speech button.
Now we've got an option called speech. Let's go on in here. It's a button. So let's activate and see what we
Voice.
have.
VoiceOver. Back button.
We'll swipe right.
Speech. Heading. Voice. Samantha.
So the
button.
first option we get here is Voice Samantha. So that tells us, again, it's a button. We can go on in here. This is where we can change the VoiceOver voice. So right now it's set to
Voice.
Samantha,
Speak.
which is the default, but let's take a look at some of the other options here.
English. Heading.
So we'll look, and it breaks it down by language. So at top is English, English United States. You can look at English UK, English Australia. We're going to just focus on English US right now.
English. Us. Heading. Download Alex. 869 MB.
So here's our first voice, and it says download. So that's telling me it's not currently on my iPad. So if I want to use it, I have to double tap and download it first. Let's keep swiping right though.
Allison. Button.
So here's one called Allison, and it doesn't say downloaded. That means it's already on my device. So we'll double tap.
Allison. English. Back button.
And now we'll choose her.
Allison.
Swipe right.
Heading. Edit. Button. Allison.
There she is. We'll double
Actions
tap on
available.
it.
Selected. Allison.
And now we have a different voice.
Lovely.
Edit. But Allison. English.
So we're going to go into the
Vertical
back
scroll
button
bar.
here.
English. English.
She has a bit of
Select. Download Ava.
kind of a
534
different accent almost.
She does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fred.
So
Button.
we have we have a bunch here we can choose from. Another one that people might dig if we keep swiping right.
Download Nikki. What? Samantha.
There's
Button.
Samantha. That's what was by default.
Siri female.
Here's
Button.
Siri female. So that voice you get for Siri, both female or male, we can choose that for VoiceOver. So let's go do that
Siri
quick.
English.
And
Back
we'll
button.
swipe right on
Siri
her.
female. Siri
There
female.
we go. We'll
Using
double tap.
400.
Selected. Siri female.
There you
Using
go.
473 MB.
And this is a pretty good voice too. So we're going to keep her for the
Siri
rest of
female.
the time
English.
here.
I'm impressed by the quality of the voices.
English.
Yeah, they do a very good
I
job.
just wanted to read this quickly aloud from Molly because
Allison.
I think it will have some import for some people.
Yeah.
She says a note about using VoiceOver and Zoom simultaneously. If you're using Braille screen input, then you should disable Zoom because in recent software versions, trying to use Braille screen input with Zoom enabled causes issues with dot recognition. I don't know how many people on this webinar or how many people, in general are using Braille screen input, but I think that's a really useful note.
Absolutely.
So good information, Molly. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. And as we move forward in through VoiceOver, we're going to get to a Braille option. For those who are saying, what the heck is Braille screen input? We'll talk about what it is in just a moment. So as you can see under voice, we can change all of the different voices that we
Download
want.
530.
So let's go back here, though.
Speak. Vertical scroll bar. Speech.
And let's go back again into our speech here.
Pronunciations. Voice. Siri female.
We changed our voice. We also have
Pronunciations.
pronunciations. We can go in here, and this is a traditional pronunciation dictionary for screen readers. So if your screen reader pronounces a word incorrectly, your first name, your last name, whatever it might be, you can go in here and change how VoiceOver says things. Side note, if you ever want to play a prank on somebody, either on their iPhone, iPad, or even their computer, if they're a JAWS user, even though this pronunciation dictionary is to fix things that are pronounced weird, you can go in and change people, like you could change someone's name to, every time that Luke types Luke, instead of JAWS saying Luke, it could say, I'm the best, or goofball, or anything you want. It's a fun prank to play on people until they figure out what the heck is going on.
May I also add to that a different prank where you can flip people's screens
Sure.
quite easily on a Windows computer with a keyboard shortcut, and probably also on Mac.
So it's upside down.
Upside down. For visual users, that can be quite interesting.
Yeah. So pronunciation, though, is great for those. Again, if it annoys you that things are mispronounced, most users you just sort of learn to live with that TTS, those text to speech goofiness, but this does allow you to go in and change that if you want.
Pitch, heading,
We also have the ability to change our pitch.
pitch, 50%.
And again, this is an adjustable, so swiping up
60%, 70%, 80%,
Ooh.
90%,
lets us change her pitch.
80%, 70%,
Or swipe down.
60%, 50%, 40%, 30%, 20%, 10%,
Oh, she sounds very angry.
0%,
Oh,
10%,
Yeah.
20%, 30, 40, 50%.
So you can go in and really adjust that pitch to something that you prefer.
Use pitch change. Detect languages.
And then you've got some other
Double tap to
various
toggle
options here. It does have the ability to detect language. So if it's looking at an email or a web page and the text is in a different language, VoiceOver will automatically switch on the fly to that TTS engine that supports that voice.
Quick question from Kenneth. He says, when he's in settings, can he use Siri to search for items such as accessibility? Kenneth, you can use Siri from anywhere to open, parts of the settings menu. So you could ask Siri to open accessibility from anywhere, right?
Yeah, and I don't know off the top of my head, I don't know how far it lets you drill down. I know you can say open accessibility settings.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you can say open VoiceOver settings to get where we are right now, but you can't say like open VoiceOver settings, speech, voice. You can't drill down that far with Siri.
Good answer.
All right, so that's everything in our speech menu that a VoiceOver user might be interested in.
Voice, Siri,
so let's go
speech,
back
VoiceOver,
here.
Speech, heading, VoiceOver,
So we're back to our main VoiceOver page
VoiceOver
here.
practice, speaking rate, speech, Braille button.
And our next option here is Braille. So we mentioned a little bit ago, the iOS does support Braille displays, and they support Braille input and output. And here is where you would set up a lot of your configuration for your Braille display. Do you prefer 8-dot Braille, 6-dot Braille, contracted, uncontracted, which Braille tables, languages, all of those different customizations you want to make for your Braille experience will all be done here under the VoiceOver settings and under Braille. For Molly, who had the really good point of Braille screen input, let me mention really quick what Braille screen input is. Braille screen input allows you to input text using a virtual Braille style keyboard. You do not need to have a Braille display connected at all. You can configure Braille screen input as part of your Rotor Gesture. And again, we'll talk about Rotor in a moment. And if you switch your Rotor to Braille screen input, you can then place your 6 fingers. So you can dots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You just touch the screen once to sort of calibrate your fingers. And then you can virtually type right on that touch screen and do your contracted or uncontracted Braille input. And instead of using the virtual keyboard or dictation, you can use a virtual Braille keyboard instead.
I really hoped you were going to say Braille screen input is where you input Braille on the screen and just leave it at that.
I was always taught when you define something never to use the
words.
words.
That makes sense. A couple of things here. Kenneth asks if we can download different voices, I think is what he's trying to get at. Okay.
Only the ones that are listed, though. You can't go get a cappella voices. You can't get eloquence. If it's not listed under the speech voice setting, you can't get it.
Okay. And from Maya, I did answer her in the chat already, but she asked if you can use Siri while VoiceOver is on. I said, yes, you can use Siri while VoiceOver is on. And it does a good job of rejecting the voice of VoiceOver while you're trying to talk to it.
Way better than
on the Android side,
has such a problem with Assistant talking over. And not only, the other thing, just to quickly note, Siri is smart enough that it knows when you have VoiceOver running, and this is a quick little thing that you can practice yourself. If you have VoiceOver turned off on your iPhone and you say, Siri, send a text message to so-and-so, and it says, okay, what would you like to say? And hi, this is a test. Siri will respond, here's your message. It won't read what you said. As soon as you turn VoiceOver on and then run Siri and say, Siri, text so-and-so, it'll say, what would you like to say? You say, hi, this is a test. It'll then say, here's your message. Hi, this is a test. So Siri is smart enough to say, oh, they have VoiceOver on. They must not be able to see the screen. I will speak out what was inputted versus not having it going. So it's pretty cool. All right, so that's all of our Braille settings that you can dive into here and change.
Sounds. Audio. Heading. VoiceOver. Back button.
Oh, how did I get
Voice
into audio?
Braille.
Yeah,
Speaking rate. 55.
that was weird.
Speaking rate. Speaking rate. Speech. Braille. Button. VoiceOver recognition. Button. Speech.
Okay.
Button. Braille. VoiceOver recognition.
So
button.
voiceover recognition.
VoiceOver. Back button. VoiceOver recognition.
This is new in iOS 14. So if you're not seeing this on your device playing at home, you need to upgrade to iOS 14. And let me explain what it is. There are two different accessibility features that have been included in iOS 14, image recognition and screen recognition. And basically what these are doing are these are accessibility features that provide more description. Image recognition, when turned on, will do a better job of explaining pictures when it sees it. Now, obviously, it's not going to be great, but it does do a better job of describing what the picture is that VoiceOver is seeing. Screen recognition is used when an app might not be accessible. So let's say you go into an app and either you're getting a bunch of button because the developer did not didn't create the buttons correctly and didn't add tags or labels to them, or you might not even be getting anything. VoiceOver just doesn't see anything on the screen. Screen recognition, when turned on, will do will kind of scan the app and then almost like doing OCR, and then give you labels to those buttons and allow you to better access the app. It's not perfect, it's brand new, but for their first run at it, it actually works pretty well and has allowed me to use an app or two that I wasn't able to use in the future or in the past.
And just to reiterate, that is an iOS 14 edition, so you will have to have the latest version of the operating system.
That is correct.
VoiceOver.
Yep.
Back button.
So that
VoiceOver,
is what
VoiceOver.
we find under recognition.
Audio. Button. Audio. VoiceOver.
Let's take a look at verbosity quick here.
Punctuation. VoiceOver. Back button.
There's some good things in verbosity here that might interest you. And this will be, again, more for you tailoring your experience with VoiceOver.
Verbosity. Heading. Punctuation. Button.
So here's punctuation. This allows us to go in and decide how much punctuation is spoken by VoiceOver. Some, all, so you can adjust how much is spoken.
Customize how punctuation is output. Speak hints.
Speak hints. Now let me
Double tap to-
explain what speak hints is. When I land on a button here,
Customize.
let's listen to what it says after it says the name of the button. There's a bit of a pause, and then we're going to hear something else.
Speak hints. Double tap to toggle setting.
Double tap to toggle setting. That is a hint. VoiceOver is telling you, hey, you've landed on a button. This is our hint. This is what you do. Now, that's great when you're first learning how to use VoiceOver, but if you get to a point where you're comfortable and that becomes more info than you want, we can double tap, turn this off.
Off.
Now let's do that same action.
Customize how punctuation is.
Let's land back on that button again.
Speak hints. Off.
Now we see we don't get that hint any longer. So for those who want to be able to customize those hints, either having them on or off, this is where you'll do it. We'll turn it back on just in case we come across something where we need it.
Capital letters. Speak cap. Button.
We can also choose how capital letters are
Deleting text.
told to us, either by saying the word, by saying cap, or by a pitch change, a higher pitch instead, so we can adjust how we want that.
Deleting text. Change pitch. Button.
Same with deleting text. So if you're doing a delete, it'll change the pitch. So the letter it's deleting will be in a little lower pitch, letting you know that it's deleting it. And you can adjust how that's done as well.
Embedded links. Speak. Button.
Same with for embedded links. Right now they're to speak, but you can change that verbosity so it doesn't say the word link if you don't want it to. So basically under this verbosity, it really allows you to kind of go in and customize how VoiceOver speaks. Allows you to sort of get rid of some of that extraneous information that VoiceOver tends to give you. Now, I don't recommend beginners changing much in here. I really recommend getting comfortable with VoiceOver, leaving those hints on until you get a better understanding on how things work and how you interact with different controls. Once you feel comfortable, then come on in here and adjust some of these verbosity settings so that you can really increase your productivity.
Punctuation. VoiceOver.
Let's go back into our VoiceOver settings.
Audio button.
And our next one here is audio. So we'll pop into audio quick.
VoiceOver. Back button.
So let's take a look what we have in here.
Audio. Heading.
This is
Sounds. Button.
gonna again allow us to make some changes.
Audio. Back button.
So let's go into sounds.
Sounds. Heading. Sounds. On.
Right now they're
Double tap
on.
to toggle
And so
setting.
what sounds is that these are VoiceOver settings. So as I swipe, you can hear that it's making a kind of a click noise.
Sounds. Heading. Sounds. On.
So even though it's
Double tap
VoiceOver
to toggle
speaking, you
setting.
still get that little tick, tick noise. Those are what we call ear cons. And basically they're audio cues letting you know when you do things so that you know that action has been performed.
Sounds.
You also
Heading.
hear it when I do a double tap.
Sounds. Heading.
You heard that little click kind of noise that's a little different sounding. Those are those different sounds. Now, if you're annoyed by those sounds, we can come in here into audio and under sounds and
On.
turn them off. Now, when I swipe,
Sounds.
Nothing.
Heading. Sounds. Off.
now you're gotten
Double
rid
tap
of
to
all
toggle
of those VoiceOver sounds. So if I double tap again,
Sounds. Sounds.
nothing
Heading.
happens. So those sounds have been turned off.
Sounds.
So for those who say,
Sounds.
and now we've
Heading.
turned it back on. So those who get annoyed with some of those sounds or just say it's too darn noisy, you can go in here and turn them off.
Sounds.
I wonder
Match
whether,
speech volume.
I feel like
Off.
maybe you wouldn't want to turn those off unless you were a more advanced and experienced VoiceOver user.
Yes.
Yeah, because they do give you some useful information about kind of the fact that you've selected something or that you're moving around or whatever.
Yep, absolutely. It helps you that you know you did the gesture you
Yes,
wanted
exactly.
to. Yep.
Sound. Match speech volume. Off.
Okay.
Sound volume. 80%.
We can also adjust the level of those sounds. So if, let's say we still want the sounds, but they're just too loud. We can come here under this adjustable and lower them.
70%, 60%, 50%, 40%, 30%.
Now, as I swipe,
Match speech volume. Off. Sound volume.
you can hear they
30%.
got
Adjust-
very quiet. So you can still have those sounds, but you can adjust how loud they are,
40%, 50%, 60%, 70%.
which is also
The
very
volume
nice.
rotor will change up. Interaction. Heading.
All right. That's everything
Focused.
under audio that is specifically important to us VoiceOver users.
Match speech volume.
So let's go back here.
Sound. Audio. Back. Vertical. Audio. Audio.
All right.
Any externally. Send to HDMI. Audio ducking. On.
Audio ducking. What audio ducking does when turned on is that if you're listening to another source of audio, if it's a YouTube video or music, when audio ducking is on, as soon as you start to use your phone again, basically have VoiceOver speak, it'll automatically turn down the volume of the other thing playing so that you can better hear VoiceOver. So you're not struggling to hear VoiceOver over the YouTube video or over your song that's playing. Some people like that feature. If you don't like that feature, if you don't like your audio constantly up, down, you can turn off audio ducking and then it'll just stay the same volume.
Send to HDMI.
All right, so let's
Sounds.
go
Button.
back
Audio.
here.
Voiceover. Back. Words.
Oop.
Button. Sounds.
Come on.
Voiceover. Back button. Voiceover. Verbosity. Audio. Commands. Button.
Commands. Here's a fun one. Let's take a look at commands quick.
All command. Voiceover.
Commands
Back.
allows us to make some changes to both keyboard or gesture touch-based commands. Now, one example I'm going to give two different examples really quick here. In my opinion, there have been two gestures that really can be difficult for individuals. One is the new home gesture. Because they got rid of the home button, the new way of doing the home gesture is touching down at the bottom, and I'll actually try to do it here. We're going to touch down at the very bottom, and we're going to listen for a little pop noise. When we hear it, then we're going to slide our finger up. Come on. Its case doesn't help either.
This is the problem
Oh,
I was
there it
having
is.
with the
Reset
try
voiceover
again.
commands.
with the
Button.
swipe up last
Come
week.
on. There it is. Nice
Reset
slide up. Oh,
voiceover commands. Reset voiceover commands.
Yeah.
it's hard
Button.
to do it. There's 1, 2 pop.
Lift for app switcher.
Yeah.
Lift for setting.
So now I switched into our app switcher because I went too far up.
And you must admit, Corey, this is a lot easier than
App
pressing a
switcher.
stupid button.
Settings.
I mean,
Active.
come on.
No question.
Who wants
All right,
buttons?
so you can
Fingers to
see,
close the-
not easy to do.
Tips.
So
Active.
how can we change
Count.
that?
Shortcuts.
Let's go
iTunes Store.
back
Settings.
into our
Active.
settings here. And we want
Settings.
to change that home. It's just too difficult to do this goofy swipe up. So what we're going to do is we're going to come into VoiceOver under commands,
Search. Dictate. But Dina Herdert. Update
and
Apple I. Touch
we're going to
gestures.
go to
Touch gestures.
touch
Button.
gestures.
Tap. Commands. Back
And now
button.
it's got a list of all of the different touch gestures that you can change. And it'll tell you if you're allowed to change it, and it'll also tell you if it's been assigned or not. The one I'm going to do is a single finger quadruple tap. So I'm going to swipe right.
Touch gestures. Search. Dictate. Button. Tap. One finger sync. One finger double tap. One finger triple tap. One
Yeah.
finger quadruple tap. Secondary activate.
All right, so we're going to double tap on that to change it.
Cancel. Button.
And now I get a humongous list of all of these different actions that can take place when I do that one finger quadruple tap. They're broken down by headings, and I'm looking for the heading system.
Words. Speaking container. Headings. Commands. Interaction. Heading.
Come on.
Dismiss pop-up. Heading not found.
Oh, stop being difficult.
Vertical scroll bar. Dismiss pop-up.
No, I don't want
Vertical
to
scroll
dismiss
bar. Selected. Secondary basic navigation. Heading not
it.
found.
No, basic.
Move to next. Advanced navigation. Item
No.
text editing. Head copy.
No.
Rotor.
I
Heading.
might have went too far.
Scrolling. Heading.
Let's find
Speech and
out.
audio.
Uh-oh.
Output. Heading.
Nope, I think we're
Describe it. Voiceover. Heading.
almost there.
Watch item. System.
There we
Heading.
go. System.
Hey.
All these different headings, and we are looking for, under the system heading, we're looking for home.
Accessibility short. Activate speak script. App switcher. Control center. Dock. Home.
There it is. Double tap on it.
Alert. Gesture in use. The gesture is assigned to another command. Secondary
Oh.
activate.
That's okay.
Okay.
Cancel. Button. Assign.
We're
Button.
going to assign it
Ah.
anyways. All right.
Settings.
Now
Heading.
it's been assigned. So now rather than doing that goofy touch at the bottom, if I just take one finger and quadruple tap, 1, 2, 3, 4,
Fit.
it goes right to my home screen. So I don't have to do that goofy tap anymore.
That was a lot easier.
Yes. Pain to set it up, but once it's set up, you no longer have to do it.
And it looks like you can pretty
Settings. 2 new
comprehensively
items.
change things around.
Yes.
Settings.
Which is nice.
Now, the other gesture people have problems with is the rotor gesture. The rotor gesture is a counter or clockwise motion. You take 2 fingers. I usually use my thumb and my pointer finger. I have them spread apart about 1.5 inches, and it's almost like you're turning a volume knob on like a stereo or something. And so as I spin,
Characters. Words. Speaking rate.
I can go the other direction.
Words. Characters.
Now it said characters. Now if I swipe down with one finger, it'll move by character.
Cap S. E. T. T. I. N. G.
And if I swipe up, it'll move backwards.
G. N. I. T. T.
So whatever I choose with the
Tango.
rotor gesture decides or determines what swiping up with one finger or swiping down with one finger does. So as I do my rotor again, there was one other way I said before that there's 2 ways to change your speech rate. If speech rate is in your rotor,
Words. Speaking rate.
I can now swipe up
60%.
and
65%,
change it as well.
60%.
And I can do that on the
55%.
fly no matter where I am. But that rotor gesture can really be difficult for individuals to do. So let's change that rotor gesture to something different.
One finger double tap. One finger selected. Tap. 2 finger single tap.
So we're
2 finger
going
double
to swipe
tap. 2
fine
finger
and
triple tap.
we're going to
Show
swipe
and
right until we find that
2
rotor.
finger quadruple tap. 3 finger sync. 3 finger. 3 finger. 3
we've
finger
got all
tap.
these different
4
fingers.
finger single.
4 fingers.
4 finger. 4 finger tap. 5 fingers.
Oh, you know what?
Heading.
I'm an idiot. Sorry. First, you have to pick the gesture you want it to be. That's my mistake. So we want to go back
4
here
finger double tap.
and
4
we want to
tap.
do,
3 finger triple tap. 3 finger double tap. 3 finger single tap.
let's
Tap.
do
2 finger
a
quadruple tap. Containers. Headings. Tab. 3 finger tab.
I
4
want to
tab.
do a
5
swipe.
swipe.
There
1
we
finger.
go.
1 finger swipe.
So
1
we are
finger,
going to
1 finger
change
swipe
it
up. 1
to,
swipe. 2 finger swipe left. 2 finger swipe right.
we're going to change it to 2 finger swipe left and 2 finger swipe right. So
2 finger
we're
swipe
just going to
left.
show you one right now. So if we do
2
2
finger
finger
swipe
swipe right,
Cancel.
and we want to now look under the voiceover
Search field.
heading.
Containers. Speaking rate. Words. Characters. Headings. Interaction. Heading. Move to bottom of text navigation. Heading.
Their,
Item text editing.
heading
Heading.
doesn't
Copy.
move very
Rotor.
well.
Next rotor. Scrolling.
Oh,
Heading.
that's what I wanted. Rotor.
Rotor.
There we go.
Heading. Next rotor.
So we want the next rotor to be our 2 finger swipe right. We'll double tap.
Settings. Heading.
All right. So now if I do a 2 finger swipe right,
Characters. Words.
it's now doing my
Speaking rate.
rotor gesture.
Lovely.
Containers. Headings.
We won't set it up, but obviously you'd want to maybe then set up 2 finger swipe left to be rotor gesture the other direction so you can move in either direction.
Corey,
Yes.
I hate to stop you here, but sadly, we have basically run out of time.
Oh, come
I
on.
know. So much good information that we did not have time. I wonder, for the people present here, I wonder if you are interested in maybe us doing the next Tech Talk again on some of this stuff, and perhaps focusing on some case issues of here's how to use VoiceOver in these certain applications, and here's some cool things to use Siri for, or something like that.
And just so everybody knows, what we didn't get to today was really just Siri and the touch back, the back touch, because commands was really the last thing under VoiceOver that we were going to cover.
I do feel like though there would be some use with this because it's all fairly complicated.
Yeah.
I think there would be some benefit to perhaps, as I say, like going through some specific use cases of VoiceOver. For example, if I want to read an email, then this is how I do
absolutely.
it. Just as an example to give people a better idea. It seems from the chat, from what people are saying, that would be beneficial.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we'll do that then. So the Tech Talk in 2 weeks' time, we'll revisit VoiceOver. We'll take a look at some use cases. We'll take a look at Siri and some of the things that Siri can do.
Yeah, and some of the things we'll do then for the VoiceOver in real life, or whatever you want to use cases, is just some examples. You're right. What's the best way to read an email? If I'm in my contacts list, is there a shortcut for me to jump to the T's instead of going swipe all the way through?
Yes.
And that's where, we'll show you how to use some of the features, including the rotor gesture and some of those different things, to quickly and more efficiently use VoiceOver.
And being an Englishman, I do love getting to the T as quickly as possible. So,
absolutely.
That would be great for me. A couple of things here, so people are very positive about the idea of doing this stuff. Some people are saying email in particular and/or calendar app.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do both for sure.
Yeah, and I think that would definitely be beneficial. Now, we can't do in-depth training, in these sessions. These are more of an overview, but if you do want in-depth training, you can certainly get in touch with us. I'll put some contact information in the chat. Quickly, let's do a closing gesture so that people who need to log off, closing gesture. I've been thinking about VoiceOver too much.
Well,
a closing code.
Do you know what's funny?
Go on.
Is that was the closing code.
It was gesture. Yeah. Okay, so those people who need to log off now, your
closing code is gesture.
Let's just get through a couple of these things in the chat here, Corey, if we could, because we do have some people.
And again, for those, it's vision-forward.org/tech, TEC, talk live, closing code gesture.
Yep.
Thanks for those who need to pop off.
Yes, thank you for attending. Cynthia is asking if there's a way to extend the time that the rotor is active.
Well, the rotor is typically whatever you've chosen in the rotor will always be active.
Yeah.
But there's an exception to that rule. When an item has what they call actions, so let's do an example here.
Set.
When I land on
home,
an app,
double tap to open
here, this app on the home screen has actions built into it. So if I swipe down with one finger,
edit mode,
I can go to edit mode,
activate,
default, edit mode, edit. Those are the two actions. So let's say I change my rotor here to words.
Handwriting, characters, words.
Okay, now it's set to words. Now it should stay at words. So that means flicking up and down with one finger set to words, and it will stay there until you change the rotor manually. Or if you move on to something else that has an action, VoiceOver will automatically switch itself to the action rotor option because it thinks it's trying to be super helpful. So if I swipe onto another menu,
Notes.
now rather than
tap to open.
swiping up and read word, instead it's going to go back to actions.
Edit mode. Activate.
So
Default.
as long as if something has an action, it will always default back to the actions rotor option, and you'll have to keep switching it back and forth.
But yeah, essentially, as you do the rotate gesture, the rotor appears visibly.
Okay.
It appears visibly, but then it disappears. But it doesn't matter that it disappears because whatever you've rotated
Stops.
to is
Books.
still kind of set.
Settings.
Yeah, let's
That makes
look
sense.
really quick. Let's see if we have,
One finger swipe down.
and we may not
Search.
have to, if you want to keep going.
Commands.
Yeah,
Back
so
button.
Maya has
Command.
asked us
Commands
how
are prefix.
to write. Can we cover how to write an email with VoiceOver and Siri? Maya, we will look at that next time, but handily with VoiceOver, if you're in a text field, you can do a 2-finger double tap to start and stop dictation. So that makes it super easy to type, voice type when you're using VoiceOver. We can take a look at that next time as well.
Yeah, we'll use the on-screen keyboard, absolutely.
Yeah. Then Douglas has said that Speak Hints has alerted him to new actions that can be performed on items with
VoiceOver,
updated
back button.
iOS versions.
Yeah, and that's a great thing to say, Douglas, because one thing that's great about developers and VoiceOver is that developers of apps have the ability to add their own custom actions into the rotor. And so if you don't have the hints on, you may not know that they have built some special accessibility that you just aren't aware of. So as much as I hate having hints on because I don't like my device talking more than it needs to, I leave hints on for that exact reason. I'd hate to miss out on cool things that can save me some time.
Yeah, somebody needs to utilize that 4-finger, 4 quadruple tap. I'm telling you.
The
That's
4x4.
Yeah. I like that. June says she would like to review Word documents. I'm not sure we're going to be able to do that in these sessions because that's a little bit more niche because Word is a specific app.
Sure.
That you would have to download. It's not something built into the iPad. But if anybody does want training on any of this stuff, I'm going to put our phone number in here. We can do remote training on all of this good stuff.
And next time we will talk about when we talk about reading with VoiceOver, like an email, we will talk about navigation, which would translate or transfer over to Word documents and things as well too. So
Yeah.
you may find some stuff that you can carry over.
Yeah, a lot of the skills are transferable, which makes it easier to learn, which is nice. Just quickly, Douglas says that you can also do the rotor by swiping one finger down and one up at the same time. If that makes sense too.
What? Oh,
so take your pointer finger and your middle finger, one down, one up at the same time.
Wait, 2 different fingers?
Yeah, so pointer finger down and middle finger up, I think is the idea.
So you have to do.
Oh no!
Speaking of-
it does.
That does work. You can do it on the same hand as well, though, with the pointer finger and the middle finger of the same hand.
But you got to.
One goes down, one goes up. Yeah, like that.
Words.
There you go.
Characters.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's the same gesture essentially.
It is, but
Yeah.
I had to
that's-
stop and think about it, like chewing gum and walking.
So thanks,
Good tip.
thanks,
Yeah.
Douglas. That's a good tip. Yeah, you could use 2 hands to do that, which is nice. Whew, okay, wow. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground, and there's a lot more to cover. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in this week. We'll be back in 2 weeks, same bat time, same bat channel, to take a deeper look at VoiceOver and also Siri. And if anybody has any suggestions for the show or would like to do any personal training or just wants to chat, then the phone number and the email address are both in the chat there. And says thank you. It was helpful, our pleasure. And we will see you, with that said, in 2 weeks' time.
2 weeks. Bye, all.
Bye-bye.